Hello and welcome to Back of the Nest. My name's Chris Hambling and I'm your host today. And I'm joined by Nicholas Gillard and Patrick O'Connor. Those two gentlemen will be helping me look back at Palace's fantastic 4-0 FA Cup quarter-final victory against Frank Lampard's Everton. Right, first up, hi Nick.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm all right. We're doing things a little bit old school this week. I didn't go straight into the chat from the intro, and I've individually talking to you and Patrick because we haven't got a show plan, so I haven't reminded myself that we changed how we do things.
Yeah,
thoughts?
I was sorry. I was just looking up while you were doing that if there are anagrams of Frank Lampard, and the best one is Park Farmland, which is quite frankly rubbish, almost as bad as Everton.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely Lank in there, isn't there? So there's got to be something you could do with that.
Yeah, I wonder if he's got a middle name. I mean, who calls their kid the same name as them?
I mean,
do you know what I mean? Frank Lampard. Who's your dad? Oh, Frank Lampard.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those, isn't it? They've got, it saves having to remember two things, right?
Yeah.
You only have to remember your own name, and then you've automatically remembered your kid's name. You'll think of it that way. It's efficiency.
Do you reckon his mum's a Francophile?
I see what you've done there. I need to think about that. Hi, Patrick. How are you?
Hello. So I'm going to jump in. My dad knew Frank Lampard Sr. because Frank Lampard Sr. was my brother's youth coach, and we're innocent with him. So I'm not surprised he named his son Frank because he's a bit of an egomaniac, Frank Sr.
Really? Well, there you go. Straight.
Yes.
Direct facts for you right there.
Facts.
I never knew that. Yeah. Thank you, Patrick.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And that's Patrick, of course. He's got 5 children, all called Patrick.
No, 2 children, none named Patrick.
What's ironic is me and you know that is his name, Chris. So.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, I'm certainly not going to comment on that.
That's really not my real name, but we're not going to go there.
Yeah. Anyway, fantastic to speak to you both. It's not going to be a particularly well structured podcast today, but it is going to be a podcast, and I can promise you that. So before we get into talking about what was a fantastic game of football, just pretty much an hour before we started recording came the news that Tyreek Mitchell has been called up to the England squad. Obviously, a couple of injuries have happened in the squad since it was announced, and I think a few people are aware that Tyreek was on standby, and it's he and Kyle Walker-Peters who've been called up. Thought it was odd that he didn't get in there in the first place because there's a distinct lack of left-backs in there. I think it was Luke Shaw and nobody else, but with a couple of others that can play there maybe. But because Saka can play there, of course, and or one or two of the centre-backs can play left side as well, can't they? But anyway, Tyreek getting recognition, never appeared in the any of the England youth teams up to 21 level, so at 22 years of age, getting that call. I mean, first of all, it's richly deserved. He's really kicked on. So you go back to, and obviously, Nick, Patrick, you'll get your opportunity to say what you think about it. But I just really want to go back to the kind of moment we first saw him. I first saw him for certainly was in a pre-season friendly. I think it was Dulwich or something like that. It might not even been pre-season. I'm struggling. It's when we randomly played Dulwich at some point and got to see Tyreek play left back. And at the time it was like, oh wow, he's got potential, this kid. And we were thinking, Wan-Bissaka on the right and Mitchell on the left. And I think he picked up a couple of injuries that slowed his progress a bit. We didn't see him for a while, but since he's got in and made that spot his own, he's just getting better every game. And this is absolutely deserved. You've seen how he's performed against some really good players, and I think that game against Man City, where he shut down an incredible amount of talent, they just could not get by him, and that would have done him the world of good. With watching England scouts and an England manager at one point. So fantastic for the club, fantastic for him. And a massive talent. So, Patrick, why don't you start and give us your views?
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, everybody knows how much I love the fact that youth team players get a chance to play. Again, and funny enough, just like Wan Bissaka got his chance when a player was injured, when PVA was injured. I guess that was back in the July during the pandemic, and he came on. I guess it was the Leicester. Came on as a Leicester sub, I guess it was. Got to play a little bit there, and that was great. Really happy. I mean, imagine. I mean, Nick and I are old, so I'll say it right from the top. But imagine having 3 Palace players in an England squad. I mean, that's got to be. I mean, that goes back to obviously couple days. I'm thinking Andy Gray, Jeff Thomas, and Ian Wright might have been in the same squad at some point. But
definitely Thomas, Solarco, and Gray.
Solarco, right?
One,
Solarco, yeah.
Ian Wright as well, and I don't know if Nigel Martin, because Nigel Martin got some caps in '92, so I don't know how much they all overlap, but possibly in the same squad we had 5 players who played for England, which is unprecedented.
Yeah, because I mean, even when I was a kid, I remember, Sansom was in the youth team, but none of them were playing. Sansom went on to play for England, obviously, when he was at Paston and Arsenal. But it's amazing. It's just a great time to be a Palace fan. And we can get into everything. I watched the interview just now with Chris Grierson. I don't know why he's at the stadium interviewing Tyreek Mitchell, by the way, today. But anyway, he's at the stadium and he was talking about, he's actually from Brent, which is right outside of Wembley. So his mum's really excited and everything. It's a great time. Love it. I'm happy for the kid, really happy for the club, and, just happy days, honestly. Good for him.
I'm hoping, and I'm not saying it's going to happen because we've got Luke Shaw in the team, but wouldn't you love to see Tyreek against Wilf when we play?
Oh, wow.
When we play the Côte d'Ivoire.
Yeah, it'd be hilarious.
Quick question for you. Who is Palace's most capped player? There are 2 answers.
Do you mean capped internationally or do you mean England caps?
England caps.
Just England?
England, yes.
As in number of caps whilst playing for Palace?
I think so. I'm looking at englandstats.com here, and it's saying how many caps they've got. So.
Okay, because if it was caps whilst they played for England, I think it's Jeff Thomas with 9.
Yep, correct.
There you go.
Nailed it. Nailed it.
But yeah, obviously people like Gary Cahill coming and playing here, and Ray Wilkins and people like that.
Yeah, see, not on the list. The other one that says 9 on this list is Kenny Sansom.
Kenny, yeah, definitely. Definitely Kenny, yeah.
And we've had 2 players in the 3rd division played for England. One of them was Johnny Byrne, the other one, Patrick?
Peter Taylor.
Yeah. He went on to a great managerial career, apparently. Somewhere.
Let me tell you something. I'll say it again. Peter Taylor was an absolutely brilliant player, but as a manager, he just killed his reputation. It was so bad.
I know.
It's a shame. It really is a shame, seriously.
Yeah, it was odd, his fall from grace, and I can remember as well when he took over. Didn't you think? I think we had a couple of games before he really got his teeth into the team where we actually played pretty well.
Yep.
And you're like, okay,
not bad.
Okay, proper manager this time. Yeah, this is going to go really, really well. No problems at all. And then it went so wrong, didn't it? But yeah, was it Trevor Francis before him?
It might have been Trevor Francis.
Another great player who was a terrible manager. Seriously, a great player who was an awful manager. It's a shame.
Like Frank Lampard. I mean, we nearly had him. Can you imagine what we'd have been like if we had Frank Lampard as manager?
No.
Let's not go there. But it came so close to it being that way.
I think that's a good segue, Nick, into the game, isn't it? Because. Interesting. It was a very interesting start. I mean, we can talk about the lineup and things like that, but we talk about the start of the game. We were under a lot of pressure, so you could quite clearly see the one tactical bit of work that they'd done was put them under pressure right from the off, because we know what we're going to do. We're going to pass it around. We're used to having relatively decent amount of time to play at a fairly sedate pace around the back at times. We do, don't we? Try and get it onto like a good angle for Anderson to play a diagonal, or try and work our way up the pitch in a methodical and sensible way. So the teams that come and press us at pace can force mistakes, can force us to play a bit quicker and a bit longer, because we're not the perfect possession-based team. We're not there yet. We're in our first season of doing this, so sometimes mistakes creep in, right? So it seems like a good good thing to do, and they came out of the blocks really quickly. Just like that was as hard a opening to a game that I've seen in a long while, just purely based on the pace that Everton played at. But I was thinking at the time that if they don't score, they're in trouble, because you can't sustain that, and you're going to leave so many gaps.
Our first comment in the Homestyle Block F round where I was they're meant to be rubbish, and that was like the first 10 minutes. But it was only when Townsend got injured that actually. Do you think during that period when Townsend went down, players were individually going up to Mr. Vieira, and do you think tactics were passed across then or not?
Undoubtedly, and Patrick would know a fair amount about this, but undoubtedly it was the centre of midfield for sure, right, Patrick?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if you get an opportunity like that to talk to your players when things aren't going well, you're going to tell them something different. So I think one thing we tried to do was go more direct. I don't think we play as much in the back, even though I know the first 60 minutes, the most touches in the back were from our back three of our back four, which were Mitchell, Guehi, and Anderson. But we really tried to go a little bit more direct after that. Again, the only tactic Everton had was to press us and harass us. And once they couldn't do that, and I think, again, I thought Andrews got off to a really good start going against Tyreek, and I think his injury was really big. Not him just being out of the game, but also, like you just said, getting a chance to talk to the players. We got hold of the midfield because their midfield yesterday was very weak. Allen couldn't play, so they had, obviously, Anthony Gordon to go in there. Not really a central midfielder. Gomez didn't have a good game yesterday. The Corey kind of stood around and did nothing all game. And then Kouyaté, Eze, and Gallagher just started to dominate in that midfield. Once we had the midfield, we were rolling. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Doucouré shocks me at times.
Yeah.
He's a tremendous player, but he just goes missing in games, doesn't he? That's why he's not really kicked on. They spent a lot of money on him.
Yeah.
He was extremely. I know a Watford fan pretty well, unfortunately. And he's a nice guy. And despite mispronouncing Doucouré to an incredible level, he was he's a big fan of his, and was really sad when he left. But I always thought the same when I saw him play. It was just there's too much of the game that passes him by. He has the talent. You remember, and I hate to disrespect him a little bit, but with Ambrose, he was a bit like that type of player where you know what you're going to get, and it's going to be for 15-20 minutes in a game in total, over 90 minutes, and it was always enough with Ambrose. But Doucouré plays in a different area and needs to do a lot more there, doesn't he? So we definitely benefited from their issues in the centre of midfield, but I think we benefited from the naivety that they went with as well. I think they thought they could steamroller us, and you look at the end result, we steamrolled them. But that picking that out, Nick, in the comments there, Patrick, spot on. That was the key moment in the game. The injury gave us enough time to assess what was going on and just make that tiny little adjustment to get around it. And but that's. I guess that's one of the most refreshing things that we see, right? Under Patrick Vieira, we have a setup that changes game to game and also changes moment to moment in matches. Patrick,
let's talk about that now. How refreshing is that? Seriously, and again, I'm not going to get on at Hodgson, but seriously, I mean, people got on Vieira in the beginning of the season, and you have to understand he'd been out of work for a while. He's been in New York and Nice and stuff like that, but he's been studying stuff at Man City, and he can tactically change things. And I know people were upset in the beginning of the season. Well, not us, but other people looking at him, we're doing this and the other. But just noticing of late, especially, the last 3 or 4 matches, really 3 different kind of games, the Wolves, City, and then yesterday's game. But he's able to make changes tactically, during the game. He's made subs at the right time that have really helped. And you're right. Yesterday, man, making that, just making that adjustment in the midfield and starting to dominate was such a big difference. And then again, his use of Eze, we'll get to later on, but Eze coming into that team yesterday just added a little, freshened it up a little bit. To see him and Gallagher together is very, very exciting the rest of the season. It really is. Even though I could argue, like I've been arguing with DR, that, honestly, Mac and Hughes haven't anything to get dropped, but I understand why people are going to pine for Eze. But we've used Eze now at the right time. His confidence is way up now going into international break. And I just think that Vieira's done such a great job tactically to change things up. And he's been so good this year. He really has.
Back in the Nest launched a Discord chat type thing, which I had no clue what it was until I got into it. And a few people have actually said about Eze. P. Rose said, "Can we take a minute to appreciate Ebbs from yesterday? We all know what he offers going forward, but the other facets of his game were so impressive. Putting some real shifts defensively, was moving off the ball to create outlets. Very, very happy for him." So yeah, there's that, and yeah, he did. He's fighting for his place. That's what we want.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because as you say, Patrick, and as you're kind of hinting at there, Nick, it's not just about the talent that Eze undoubtedly has. I think sometimes a manager who knows better than the player and better than the fans is refreshing as well.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
100%.
Because the player's always going to want to play, right? The player's always going to want to play, and we know what Eze did last year. And we all want him in the team playing like that, because all we can think about, probably as we're all going to sleep at night, is what would happen if Eze was in top form the same day Zaha was on top form, the same day Elise was on top form, the same day Gallagher was on top form, and let's check Mateta in that as well at the moment.
I'm just thinking of you in that meme, lying there. You know the one I mean? As you go to sleep at night, and your girlfriend's thinking, "I wonder what he's thinking about."
Yeah, I wonder what he's thinking about. Yeah, exactly. And you can, I am that meme at the moment. Yeah. But you know what I mean? That's where our brain is. But somebody who's been out that long, it's a big ask for their body to be up to the sort of physicality. But it's more the mentality. I suppose if you're managing him the right way, and you create this kind of almost intense desire to he's got him to the point of frustration, hasn't he? He's actually out and out annoyed the hell out of Eze because the guy just wants to play. So you just have a situation where, sorry, I just stepped on something I shouldn't have done. Where the kind of desire for Eze to get back in that side has kind of overcome any doubts that he would have had in his mind over whether or not he's fully over this injury, over whether or not he's going to be able to keep his place. It's kind of what you're saying, that that hunger to get back and be in the side week in, week out. It's almost the perfect time to bring him in, wasn't it?
Yeah, and you've also got to say that the England squad was announced the day he got injured, and he was in it. And suddenly there's a couple of other Palace players in there. But Maya Spartan 35 has got a question for us regarding Eze. He said Vieira mentioned that Eze showed him a lot yesterday in his post-game comments, and that he needs games now to keep the consistency. Do the panel think that with us being safe now, that PV will begin to play Eze more consistently?
I think you can't really argue dropping him after that. After that performance, could you? But I still think he needs to be managed so he doesn't get injured again. I think to me that's the bigger concern. The bigger concern is just putting too much on him too quickly, because it's a nasty injury, right? It's it's a pretty serious one, the Achilles, and coming back and doing things the wrong way is difficult. But yeah, I would say yes, he's going to be more inclined to use him now. Partly, I suppose you could argue partly because we're safe, but I genuinely don't think we've been thinking that way for some time now. Right. I think it's all about putting as many points on the board as we possibly can and pushing us high up that table. So you start looking at the games we have left. Would a midfield, playing against, if I pick the Arsenal game, he might probably play in the cup against Chelsea, but take the Arsenal game as an example, and probably the last game against United as an example. Maybe in those games, I suppose Leicester, maybe in those games you don't play Eze in favour of more of a MacArthur type or a Hughes type in there to give you that little bit more bite in midfield. But certainly if you look at the fact that coming up or into the season, we've got Newcastle in there, we've got Leeds in there, you've got Southampton, Watford and Villa, other than the teams I mentioned. I think it's absolutely right. Those are teams that you can certainly give Eze the game time that he needs.
Yeah, I agree. The only thing I'm thinking is I don't know exactly where Macca is. He was back and then he's not, and he's been injured quite a bit the last couple of seasons. But Hughes has played really well. I don't see a reason to have to drop him. But again, I think he had something going on the last couple of games where he wasn't starting. But you figure Kouyaté is set. You've got Gallagher, again, except for Chelsea, is pretty much set. Is Eze the third midfield again? Is it Maka? Is it Hughes? I mean, the thing is, you have a lot of choices, and Hambo, you nailed it. He's going to be on a game-by-game basis and based on who the opposition is, because does he deserve to play? Absolutely, but then so does Maka when he's on form, and so does Hughes. And again, I didn't mention him, but let's be honest, Schlupp hasn't been terrible the last few matches. He was suspended yesterday, so I wouldn't say he deserves to get dropped. And we can argue about him because he's like, people will say, well, why play Schlupp? But again, he was great against Wolves, decent against City. So again, it's a lot of riches there, which is great. But again, I think Eze is probably ready. But again, like you said, I trust Vieira to make the decision and to bring him on slowly, because again, that injury is tricky. You got to be careful.
Chris, just going through the teams we've got to play, we're going to have a big impact possibly on who gets relegated, aren't we? Newcastle, Everton, Leeds, Watford. Surely we've got to play our best squads just to keep the league fair, as it were.
Well, absolutely right. But it's an odd situation to be in, because I think, and I might be wrong, people might actually get the genuine facts out and tell me I'm wrong, but it feels like our run-in the last few years has always been tough, and we've always been kind of like, we've got to get the points on the board before the last 5 games or something like that. Not this year. But not this year. We've done the hard work this year. And you got to say, if we can keep this momentum going, and you look at our run as well, it really is momentum. We have built up a hell of a run. There's a drop here and there, but if you look at the we haven't been beat much this season, have we? Let's face it.
We've got to play the 3 teams that are currently above us, who we can all go above if we beat them as well, which is interesting.
But also,
you don't.
Yeah, but I'm sorry. Also, this calendar year, we've only lost to West Ham, Liverpool, and Chelsea. It's almost April.
Yeah.
That is amazing. But you're right, Chris. Yeah. We can definitely have a big say. And you know what? Because of the FA Cup semi-final, they're going to rearrange the Everton game, which was on the 16th. Put that in May. If we relegate Everton and Watford, I'll be very happy.
Absolutely right. Yeah. I get it. I think personally, I look at it and I think, I think Everton will climb and Leeds will drop. That's how I feel at the moment, and I'd love Everton to go down.
Interesting.
But that's where I think it's heading. I
don't know. Looking at
Leeds have just gone out. Go on. I was just going to say Leeds have gone out and appointed Ted Lasso for some reason. So I don't really understand.
All right, I'm gonna defend Jesse Marsh because I know him from over here in the Red Bulls. He's a very good coach. Seriously, I know that Ted Lasso thing bothered him, and it's funny, but he's actually a decent coach. He's not the guy they had before.
Just a bit of banter.
I know. It is funny though. Even he said it. I said like Ted Lasso in the interview. So yeah, but
yeah. No, he gets it.
He does. And
I love Ted Lasso. So.
It's a great show.
His name was actually punting a bit, wasn't it? Before Vieira was appointed. I think it was a bit of a left field choice for some. But
he's got that Red Bulls connection, which is good. He's got a very good Red Bull. He's been at 3 of the 4 teams he's managed already. So Red Bulls. No, I think all 3. Salzburg, Leipzig, and New York. No, he's on all 3, which is amazing. Yeah. So.
But you're right. I mean, looking ahead, we've got a really interesting run in, and who knows where we could end up. You start looking through that, and you start getting into the dream territory of just picking. Okay. We can beat Arsenal, even though they're doing really well. We can beat Leicester. We've done it lots. We can beat Newcastle. We can beat Leeds. We can beat Southampton. And all of a sudden, you've won every game in April.
Exactly.
And then you're like, oh, fair enough. We're going to win every game in April. We'll beat Watford and Villa. And then it's last game, the game of the season. What United got to play for? Nothing. They're useless. Exactly. So we'll smash them as well. And all of a sudden, we've won every game to the end of the season, and we're in Europe, right?
Yeah.
Europa Conference League. Let's go.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. So I think we've sorted that one out. Back to the game, shall we? Because I want to we talked about the kind of the pivotal moment for sure. But in all that kind of opening energy and the constant cliches about proper cup tie and all that kind of stuff that we had to endure. It was interesting to see that it was a set piece that got us ahead in the game. The much maligned set piece. We've had plenty of opportunities this year where we've not looked strong from an attacking perspective and from a defensive perspective, we've looked incredibly suspect. But that seems to be switching at the moment, and definitely a large part of that has got to be the delivery of Elise. I mean, he takes a fantastic corner. I mean, dead ball delivery, crossing on the run is he's just a magician with the ball, isn't he? Let's face it. But they had a proper warning with the first corner he took, where basically, I don't know. What do you think, Patrick? Was he actually shooting? It pretty nearly went in.
I think he was. I think he tried to catch Pickford at that near post, and then the subsequent corner right into Guehi's head. But you're right. I mean, my biggest pet peeve in the last couple of years has been Luca on corners, which has been can't beat the first man. But getting Elise and even Gallagher, time to time, not as good, but even Gallagher's are decent. Hughes has been pretty good this season, and it's been frustrating because I remember earlier in the season, I think it was like 113 corners we had at one point and scored like one goal, the Tompkins goal all season. And now, obviously, Guehi getting this one. It's definitely getting better. And a team like us, you've got to score set-piece goals. And that was a really big goal at a very important time of the game.
It's interesting that the corners are being mixed up as well, because I remember the second half corner, it was almost spooned, so it went really high and a long arc to just beyond the far post as well. A little bit like Elise's shot, to be perfectly honest, that led up to the third goal. But yeah, so it's good to see it mixed up a bit. Frank Lampard's, what was his description of the first goal? Corner.
Yeah. I mean that
Oh
is.
my
So, I mean, if you're an Everton fan, you've got to be worried about that post-match interview, right? And he called the second goal an average goal, and you're like, mate. You scored a lot of average goals in your career, then, didn't you?
Apparently.
Jeez, So he was clearly a bit shell shocked. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt and say he was a bit shell shocked after being smashed 4-0 at Selhurst. But
I'd say arrogant.
I mean, arrogant is probably another one. Dismissive. I mean, maybe he's a little resentful that he didn't get the opportunity that Vieira got to come and manage Palace. But there you are. That's his lot. And I think there's certainly plenty of people who are on the Lampard train who jumped off that particular train quite some time ago, and are now very much on the Vieira Express, shall we call it? That'll do, wouldn't it?
That's very good, Chris. You're wasted on this pod, I tell you.
Yeah, I know.
Good stuff.
That's it, yeah. Thanks, everyone. And
it's a good platform for you.
Yeah, that's very good. Thanks. Well done. Yeah, amusing. I haven't got any other train puns to join you in that.
You kind of hit the buffers, but carry on.
Yeah, let me get this back on track.
Hey.
Anything from you, Patrick?
Sorry?
We were making train puns.
Oh, no, I knew I'm not a pun. That's Nick's area expertise.
With a rail against anybody.
Right, okay, I've encouraged Nick and it's my own fault and I apologise.
Exactly.
Let's move on.
Exactly.
So look, the corner delivery onto the head of Guehi was excellent. Michael Keane, a player I actually rate quite highly, although he has dropped off like a lot of people who've joined Everton. He has dropped off, but he was way off being in the right position to stop Guehi getting to that ball. And he's not massively tall, Marc Guehi. He's got enough height to play centre back, but when you look at some of the other centre backs at the top level, he doesn't quite have that same towering presence. But that strength and the leap is just superb, and that's why he's so good where he is. And a really fantastic decisive header into the nets, and a very pleasing Nick, I imagine. You felt
it did. We went a bit doolally in the Homesdale. I've got a shout out actually just to go back in time to the start of the game. The display from the HF, I was underneath it, so I didn't actually see what it was until after the game. Very good considering they only did it in a couple of days. And I know that if you look on social media, on Twitter and elsewhere, they're actually setting up funding for a Wembley display. So if you're minded to help Palace look brilliant across the world again, I'd search that out and give a couple of quid.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it's it's always something to be proud of. But if you can contribute as well, that's the main thing, really. Because it's all very well basking in the glory of our fans, but if you can do something to help it, it's even better, isn't it? But so yeah, thank you for that, Nick. I suppose what we haven't mentioned, was Marc Guehi at the very start nearly giving away a penalty, but got a little fortunate that the touch wasn't a little heavier. From who did he foul now?
Charlton, was it?
Charlton, yeah.
He was offside anyway.
His touch was a little. He was, but his touch was a little light, and we could have seen something go wrong there. And they had a couple of other little opportunities, but there was the chance of the back post and things like that. But we had grown into the game by that point, and going 1-0 up was well deserved. And the second goal is, obviously not average in any way, and it followed some really interesting play because we'd had you'd seen Zaha doing some proper striker work, which I love to see him do. He'd got across the near post and flashed a shot just the wrong side of the post, and really good runs to channels.
Really good. He really pulled it out of the bag because it was going out. I don't know how he got to that, but that's adding another dimension to Mateta's game that we haven't really seen before.
Yeah. He's getting better all the time. He really is, because he's a little. It's hard to say. He looks a little unconventional at times, but I'm sure you've all seen the step over video that the club produced, which has just killed me, and several of the playing staff as well, by the way. But that was, but he is a little unconventional. But the way he runs channels, his positioning, his pace and power is really having a really good impact, and that's why he's the one who's being picked to play centrally ahead of Edouard and Benteke, who are arguably better players. They're just not as effective as him at the moment. So, long may that continue. But, the goal came from, a good bit of hold-up play from Wilf, which, again, not something anyone would ever comment on, he'd ever get credit on, but he did it. The ball went up to him. He held a couple of players off, knocked it back to Eze. Eze's fantastic ball down the left-hand side. And then a great cutback from Zaha, the perfect ball, the absolute perfect cross in that situation. And Mateta's finish. Doesn't think about it. That's a player playing with confidence. And, you talked about him a bit there, Nick. And when you see Mateta at Selhurst striking the ball first time like that and smashing it home, it kind of makes a mockery of him being, should we say, a figure of fun not that long ago.
But that's the thing. We hadn't really seen him, had we? That was the thing. He scored that excellent goal against Brighton. Then he kind of got forgotten. We thought he got forgotten because perhaps he wasn't very good, but what did he score in the Bundesliga for Mainz? Was it 13 in one season? That's why we signed him. He obviously knows where the goal is, so we're actually finally seeing it. So, I was talking to somebody at half time, and they said he's that far away from you thinking he's absolutely crap, but he's not. There's just something about him. And like you said, he's ungainly, he's top heavy, but he's got an instinct for goal, and that's what you need.
What are you making of him these days, Patrick?
I'm a massive fan of his. I was when he first came here. I watched him a little bit because we got a lot of German football over here. Was very upset that after he scored the great goal, cult hero goal against Brighton, we never saw him again. I think maybe they see him at Leeds. Maybe I can't remember. Last year was just a joke, and he didn't get a chance. But no, what I like about Vieira is that the way he nurtures players the right way and gets them ready to play. Like, we didn't remember in the beginning, we signed Hughes. We didn't see Hughes for a long time. Why isn't Hughes playing? And all of a sudden Hughes plays great. Where's Eze? Well, he's okay. Mateta, where's Mateta? Blah, blah, blah. And then now, because for me, he's definitely, for this system we're playing right now, he's the best player for that system. The way he runs the channels, his finishing, the way he helps with the press, triggers the press, and helps with. I don't know if you remember yesterday, Gallagher was waving him and Zaha up to go, help press at one point. Everton, the way he presses is great, and not that Edouard isn't technically a better striker of the ball or better striker finisher, but where we're playing now next year, honestly, we might go a different way. We might not have Gallagher, so maybe change to maybe a 4-4-2 or whatever, a 4-2-3-1 more. Maybe Edouard plays more, but right now you got to give Vieira credit. He's seen something in Mateta. that we're all starting to see now, and he's playing really well. And I'm really happy because, again, I always hate when players are written off before we get a chance to see them. I mean, that was a typical, we've done that. We did that a lot of our players. We actually never did get to see properly. Guys like Camarasa, who we never got to see play at all. So I'm glad he's playing well. Good for him. Happy for him.
No, exactly. And I think early on this season, he got quite an early opportunity, didn't he? And he just wasn't there. He just wasn't really at the races in one of the early matches. And I kind of thought that was his opportunity. I thought he's just, he had a chance with a new manager, and a team that's playing well. He had an opportunity to come in and do something. And it just didn't look like he had the work ethic. That the stuff that he's doing now that you're talking about, of him leading the press as a striker, I think at some point that's clicked for him. And I'm not saying he's probably done that before, but I think coming to Palace, he kind of seemed to rock up and just think, well, I'm the number 9 here. I'm going to be I'm the striker. I'm going to score the goals. I'm going to kick the corner flag. And I think the speed of the division probably caught him out a little bit, because it's very, very hard. You cannot coast really in any team in the Premier League. You just can't coast along at your own pace and do your own thing without being rapidly found out. So I just think it took him a little while to get to that point. And now, as Patrick has just said, you're seeing a player who is, he's the first one to chase something down. He's the first one to put the effort in. He will run those channels all day and stretch defences, and all of a sudden it just makes such a big difference.
On the subject of work ethic, I watched the game back yesterday, but Will said to me, watch Gallagher just for 5 minutes, and he appears in places you wouldn't expect him to because he was the other side of the pitch seconds before. He does not stop running. I know the Man City game, he said he had no legs because he ran 12.5 kilometres in the interview afterwards, but he was everywhere. Eze was everywhere. And the other thing I noticed when I watched the game back, I kind of noticed it when I watched the game live anyway, but how comfortable our players are on the ball and how skillful some of them are. It's not just about Wilf now. Some of the little shimmies and shoulder drops and moves past players that Eze did, the way that Elise glides past players. I mean, how many players have we got now that have got the skill to do that? We're so blessed. And I said to the bloke next to me, and I mentioned this to Patrick on Patrick's post-match show on Sunday after the game, which is well worth watching it if you haven't seen it on YouTube.
Certainly is.
Big up there, Patrick. You can pay me later.
Thank you.
We are actually enjoying going to watch Palace again. It was a chore before, but I used to have to drag him out of bed to go to football, but now I say, Will, we're going in half an hour. It is up. He wants to go and watch it. And I'm the same. It used to be a real chore. And no, we can't wait. Can't wait to get back. Can't wait for the next game because it truly is enjoyable.
Yeah, Nick, great point. First, it wasn't a chore. It was torture last year and a half. It wasn't. It was. Yeah. Hey, listen, do a watch along with me, Dee, and Hambo last year. You know what torture was on Mike. It was awful. And then
I did it with Dia. I did a couple. I know what it was like.
They're awful. And then the other thing you make a very good point is that the level of player. Now, I watched a post match with Wilf. That's something Wilf has picked out because you're right. Whenever you saw Palace play, it was Wilf with the skill. But you're absolutely right. The skill level has gone so high. Elise's is very high. Gallagher's skill level is very high. Mateta's underrated, very high. Edouard's first touch is brilliant. It really is. He's got a lot of skill. Eze, we know about him. You go to the back four, and Guehi and Anderson are very, very good. They wouldn't be in the back four if they couldn't play. So you're absolutely right. That's a big difference between Palace of last year or the season before and now. A lot of players have a lot of skill. Hughes has got a lot of skill. Macca, underrated skill, ability. So, and he raised the level of everybody. And like I said, Wilf has noticed it and likes it. And I think that's made us a much, much, much better team.
For sure. And yeah, it's it is weird, and when you actually listen to what you were saying there, Nick, it almost made me laugh a little bit because you just effectively what you're talking about is having a good football team.
Yeah,
you're going. It's amazing. There's the number of players.
Exactly.
They've all got skills. It's not just Wilf. And it just made me laugh because I'm like, yeah, because we are used to like having the. At least we've got one player who's happy to receive the ball in any position, and that's we've been crying out for that for years, and anyone who's been a long-term listener of what we do will know that it's my biggest frustration being a Palace fan for years and years and years has always been I've never really, until now, and I've genuinely mean this, until now, even at our best when we finished third with Koppel in charge, we didn't play great football. We played effective football. We played percentage football. This is what I've always thought, I want to see from a Palace side. At one point in my life, I wanted to see a Palace team that could pick the ball up with a goalkeeper, pass it round the pitch, and score a tap in up the other end and actually mean it. Actually score a blinding team goal and actually mean it. And I just we've been close a couple of times, but a division below,
That's exactly the point I was going to make. When we had Zaha and Scannell and Williams and Neil Downs to some extent, and we had Ambrose and Murray in the team. We had a bloody good championship team, and they were enjoyable to watch as well. Not just because we got promoted with them, but they were generally good and played well as a team.
Hambo, you know what? First thing you make a point about the way we play. I mean, what we're doing now, we're playing modern football. We're playing the way that teams like we're not Man City, we're not Liverpool, not Chelsea. We're trying to play like them. We have ball playing defenders. We have guys that can, skill players and carry the ball, which is very important. Remember last year, we'd always say one thing. Well, I said during the watch-alongs, we need Will to be in the game because he's our ball carrier. Got to get us up the field. Not anymore. Because now we keep the ball in the back, we can play it around the back. You can get it into Gallagher, get it into Eze, get it into Hughes, and then get the ball forward to Mateta, Edward, Zaha, Elise. It's so much different. And not having to rely on one player, I don't care what his name is. Right? Last year it was Wilf Zaha. It could have been anybody. But not having that makes you a team. And you're right. Much more enjoyable to watch. And it's modern football. Everyone else is doing across the league. We can now compete more. That's why we can hold City to 0-0 on Monday. Whereas last year, not that we of course we've beaten in the past, but you can hold them, play that defensive, but also create chances, knowing that on an off day you can beat them 2-0 away. So it's great to watch. It really is.
It is, and I think we'll talk about we've got to talk about the third goal because that is
the Matrix goal,
weirdest,
the Matrix glitch,
the Matrix goal, the glitchiest goal you'll ever see in your life. Oh my God, what has FIFA done now? Because the camera's panned away. Watching at home, the camera's panned away. The commentators are talking about Elise's miss because it looks like he's fired it into the back of the stands, and they're like, "Oh, hang on, Wilf's tapped it in." It is absolutely bizarre, and the more you watch it, the more you just think. Well, when you start looking at the movement of Jordan Pickford, he doesn't know what the hell's happened. He's jumped up in the air. He's sort of got he's jumped his hand. He's basically looking for where it's going in the stands. But I don't know how. I mean, I just don't know how he's done it. It's a baffling thing.
I had to put ITV on my phone just to watch the replay because everybody had gone, put their head in their hands or look down when Elise missed. And then you look up and Wilf's got the ball at his feet and you're thinking, he's just going to kick it back to the keeper because it's gone out. But he's not, he's put it in the goal. And then the only people who've actually cheered are the people at the Sainsbury's end because everybody else in the ground is just baffled. And when I've watched it back, you remember those balls you used to buy, those red footballs that were $1.99? They're really, really light. And you kick them, they could go anywhere.
Anywhere, yeah.
And it looked like he shot with one of them balls.
Yeah. Because they made such a satisfying little ping noise, didn't they?
Exactly.
You've no idea where they're going. That's why they were so cheap, because you'd have to buy 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny about that? They were made by Wembley.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go. It's almost as if it's meant to be. But what on earth Elisa did to make the ball do that, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, if it had gone in, it would have been even more baffling. But there you go. It was a very odd situation.
Average goal.
Average goal.
Thanks,
Sorry,
Frank.
Frank.
Average goal.
Next goal was.
That was what he said was fluke. Sorry.
That was a fluky goal, right? Second goal was average, and the last goal was also average goal.
Yeah, I'm just. I mean, I think we should talk about. I mean, I don't. I spent too much time talking about it because it was an average goal, where Hughes has finished it, because it's just average the way he's finished it, of course. And the build up to it, where we break down the wing and fantastic ball across the box, but Gallagher's picked it up and had a brilliant an average shot. Average save from Jordan Pickford, unable to hold the ball because it's average. And then averagely onside Will Hughes for his first Palace goal. And that was nice to see, wasn't it?
It was. It was. Again, that was a kind of FIFA-esque kind of sweaty, wasn't it? We've seen lots of goals on FIFA like that where the keeper makes a brilliant save and there's a bloke on his own there.
Average save, please.
But I think it just shows the Everton defence are below average.
Yeah, well, exactly. They must be.
They're awful. Let's be honest. I mean, I know they have injuries. Jeremy's not in the side, but honestly, I know you talked about Michael Keane earlier. He's regressed a lot. Hambo, Mason Holgate, rubbish. I don't know why they don't try Jad Branthwaite, who's actually very good in Football Manager 21, by the way, if anybody doesn't but how he's in real life. But but again, Hughes I love because if you watch any of those, the training videos, he is a character and a half. And then even after the goal, he's making that little jiggy little motion as he scored his first goal. I mean, Hughes is great. I love him. He's a great character to have in the team, and he's actually a very good player. So I love that for him yesterday.
Yeah. Excellent stuff. Well, I mean, that was the fourth goal. As a performance, it was very, very good, and I really do like it when you stumble upon comments on Twitter from some Everton fans included in this who are just saying, well, let's just hope Palace go and win the cup now because proper team, proper fans play great football, and to see neutrals and opposition fans talking about your team in that way, rather than either plucky Palace or lucky Palace, or don't you just hate Palace, think they're better than they are, all that kind of stuff. It's really nice to see some an outpouring, if you like, of positivity in our direction.
Yeah,
which is richly deserved.
It was taking over from Orient as everybody's second favourite team.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What was striking though was Palace fans were singing to Everton the Everton fans how they're going down, how crap they are, and the Everton fans just stood there and went, "Yeah, and no comeback."
Yeah,
Absolutely no comeback whatsoever.
Yeah.
Sad times.
Well, it's difficult, isn't it? Because if you make that decision to replace Rafa Benitez with Frank Lampard, it does feel like you're pinpointing the wrong problem, doesn't it?
Actually, if you hire Benitez in the first place, knowing his Liverpool connections, and then you hire Frank Lampard, you mean?
Yeah, no, I suppose, yeah, you can say it like that as well. But good point. But I mean, I know who I would pick of the two managers.
Oh, definitely.
I don't think Everton have actually been out of the top division in my lifetime, which would be really weird if they go down. One of the few that have been there all the time.
Were you born in the 50s?
I was born in the 60s.
Right, as I was. So yeah, you're right. Neither one of us seen them in the lower division, which is amazing. I've seen United, Chelsea, Tottenham, West Ham, big club, Leeds. All of those I've seen in the second or lower division. I mentioned them. Yeah, I remember Palace, Tottenham in Division 2. Yeah, so you're right, but never Everton. It's just amazing. Man City, obviously. Yeah, I mean, you're right. Never seen Everton below top division in my life, and I'm old.
Yeah, actually, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling pretty good about this podcast. For once.
Oh, no doubt. And it's not close.
Can we give a special shout out to Nathaniel Klein, who I thought was excellent and almost as good as he used to be when he first played for us. Confident, his overlapping runs for Elise. Okay, Elise didn't pass him that often, but he was drawing the players out, making space. A lot of confidence. He looks like he's enjoying the games, and he's so quiet and unassuming, isn't he?
Give him another couple of years based on the last few weeks. Honestly, he's had enough games in a row, I think, and he's played enough football now that it's starting to come back for him. That kind of rhythm and that confidence and that belief, because he kind of thought he was a bit shot, and he was going to be a stand-in, and that was the best you're going to get from him.
Well, when you bear in mind the last we saw of him was being ripped to new by Wilf when he was playing for Bournemouth.
Yeah, exactly. It was a shadow of him for myself, and it was horrible to see. So respect to Wardy and all that, but Klein, we all know that a Klein at the top of his powers versus Ward top of his powers, Klein is the better player, right? I don't think it's a horrible thing to say. I think it's just true. And this, resurgence in Klein, it means Ward's going to have to find something a little bit extra, I think, because it's just brilliant to watch. But maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. What do you think, Patrick?
No, I think you're right. I mean, I've defended Ward a lot during the season. I think he hasn't been as bad. What happened is when he's when he's not great, people have pretty much said, "Oh, he's really terrible," which is not true. I'm a big Klein fan. I'm glad he's doing well. What I also want to add, though, I like about the Klein resurgence is the lack of talk about Nathan Ferguson, because it was a real shame that he get injured again, and people were really getting his case. Oh, we should just release him now, and how can he not be? So at least it takes pressure off of him not having to. I'm not saying he's trying to rush back. The injuries he's had have been absolutely awful. But at least with Klein doing so well, that right back issue is not an issue, at least not for this season. I'm with you. I'd sign him for next season, just as a backup possibly. Hopefully Ferguson's okay. But at least if he's not, Klein turns 31 next month in April. So it's certainly not old. So he could definitely play another year in the Premier League. So
is that all he is?
Yeah, 31.
Well, he's been around for so long, it seems he's older.
Exactly. He has been since he was like 17, yeah.
But yeah. Thinking about that as well, the kind of last point I wanna make for the podcast this week, and that is you think about how long Klein's been about. Obviously went and played at other clubs as Wilfried did, but think about Wilf, who's always seen himself as a forward.
Right.
Finally playing in a team where he can play as a forward because he's not being asked to do, first of all, a protective defensive job on the left wing. He's not being asked to, beat 12 players. He's not being asked to, carry a team. And all of a sudden, he's double figures for goals. I think he's 10 goals now, isn't it? And
in all competitions,
a couple of assists. But he's our top scorer ahead of Gallagher. But you start to look at the goals and assists across the team, which I've just brought up on the screen now. So Zaha with 10 and 2 assists. Gallagher, 8 goals, 5 assists. Edouard, 6 goals, 3 assists. Mateta, 5 goals, 1 assist. Elise, 4 goals, 8 assists.
Wow.
Benteke, 4 goals, 1 assist.
Right.
Get that. Guehi's, Marc Guehi, sorry, I said it the commentator way there.
Guehi.
Which is really annoying, Guehi. But Marc Guehi has got 4 goals. Jeff has got 3 and an assist. And even Ayu's got a goal and 3 assists in there as well. So, and there's more below that. But you look at that cluster all the way from 1 to 8, including Schlupp, and you've got goals spread around a team and assists spread around a team like you've never seen it at a Palace team. And Wilf must be kicking himself that it's taken the best part of
his whole career,
11, 12 years to finally be in a Palace team that can support that at the top level. But that really shows you where we are. If you want any kind of an indication of the progress that we've made in terms of the squad that we've built, but the way that we play football now, it's that. It's how well spread the goals are and how much this team, it goes back to the point you made, Nick, that this team is a proper team now. Sorry, Patrick.
No. I'm really excited we're in the semi-finals, and even though I'm really, you couldn't get a harder route now from the finals if we get past Chelsea to have to play City, Liverpool. But I want to say this: if we win this cup for Wolf, I will be beyond happy. He so deserves not only an FA Cup medal, a winning goal, and chance to play in Europe. Because the kid, he left us to go United. I mean, that's a no-brainer. It didn't work out for him. But of all the players on his current team, he just really deserves a chance to lift that cup for Palace first time ever, and also to get into Europe, and to play against them, whether it's Europa League, whatever it is, he just deserves it. And I really hope for him, if no one else, we can do it this year. I really do. I'm really hoping for him.
Do you know who deserves a cup win more than anybody else?
Me?
Us fans.
Us, yes.
Too long. I mean, I was going to make the point that the last 2 games, fans have stayed behind 10 minutes after the game, applauding and cheering the performance.
Brilliant.
Players have taken a long time to come off the pitch.
Right.
Simply because they're taking the plaudits from the crowd.
Brilliant.
Quite deserved. You mentioned Chelsea, Patrick. I just want to mention something that Richard Evans said on our Facebook page. Must be a big disappointment to Gallagher that he can't play in the semi at Wembley. Well, we don't think he can. We were discussing this before. We just don't know if it's down to Chelsea. Unless we can find a way past Chelsea, in which case he could be in the final. Do the panel think that we have a reasonable chance against Chelsea now that we have many very good players? That was Richard Evans.
So I'll start. I actually think that despite the first game was an aberration because it was the first game of the season, we didn't have anything in place as far as players. Anderson didn't play, etc. Mateta played his first game. The second game now, we only lost by a goal. Now, we didn't play great in that game, but I think of the three teams left, even though we've gotten the points off of City, I think Chelsea's probably honestly the best matchup. Yeah, they've got some great players. Thiago Silva is a Rolls Royce of a defender. Lukaku last time did not play well against us. If we can stop Lukaku from scoring, I think we have a chance against Chelsea. I really, really do. I mean, and plus we haven't beaten them. Anybody remind me when the last time we beat them was? Was it 2018? The Benteke goal, I guess it was.
Yeah, I think it was Zaha and Mateta.
Right, it's been a while, right? Yeah. So we owe them. I mean, they're very good. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they've won, European champions, but I think that's the one team, I think, of the three that in a semi, I'd rather play them than Liverpool or City. Because again, the City thing has been, to me, it's been great, but it's going to end at some point. Liverpool is very, very, very good. As much as I hate to stay forwards are ridiculous, but I think Chelsea's the one team I think we've got a chance against. Even if it goes to, God forbid, penalties, they put in the second goalie again, that would be great, and we can score against him and beat them.
I think we can just roll out the cliches, can't we? And just say, the cup's a lottery.
Right.
They're just these one-off games. You never know. Magic of the FA Cup.
Right.
I don't know. Have I missed any, Nick?
No, I can think of. I've just got an image of Pardew dancing in my head, which I wish would go away.
Yeah, well, look, we just we need to put that to bed, don't we? And
please do. God, I still see that in my nightmares.
Look, I think they say it's always the hope that kills you, but we haven't got that this time. Where you look at it and you think, if a Middlesbrough or a Forest had got through or both, and you're looking at got a semi-final against Borough, and you're looking at the other game, and it's City versus Forest or whatever, and you're thinking, oh, our name's on the cup this year and things like that.
Right.
You can get too much. You can get way too invested in it. We're in a cup semi-final where three of the
three best teams in Europe, basically.
Three best
in England and Europe,
and us.
It's ridiculous.
So we're the fourth best team in England and Europe by my record.
Exactly, at least
that's how I'm going to see it. So at least, we'll just accept that we are where we are. Yeah. It's a sign of tremendous progress. We get a trip to Wembley, which, frankly, I can't wait for. I'm coming out of retirement.
Let's go! Love it.
And then, and I'm just, it's, let's just enjoy that and see where we go. But absolutely, to answer that question in a fairly long-winded way, we have a chance. When you start thinking about we don't have Gallagher, that's a little bit of an insight into next season when likely not to have Gallagher next season,
right.
Whether he's at Chelsea or not, because this is an England international who's absolutely stormed the Premier League this year. So if they don't want him, there's going to be more than Palace that do. And all you can do is hope that something somehow happens, and he's a Palace player. But we have to look at what we're going to do instead. And Eze, will be one of the people we look to kind of fill the void of Gallagher going.
I think what you've got to think about there, though, is Gallagher is now in the England team. Unless he can have a guarantee that he's going to be playing for Chelsea regularly, he might drop off the England radar. So, that's a good thing for us. But the other thing is if Chelsea don't get new owners, they're going to have 450 players come back off loan. And they'll have 475 players to pick a 25-man squad from. I mean, how are they going to do that?
Yeah. Well, no, it's exactly it. I mean, look, I'm sure they will have new owners, and I'm sure it'll be what it'll be. But yes, absolutely. I've seen tons of articles talking about the fact that Gallagher, should bear in mind that being a squad player at Chelsea might not be the best for his career. Look at what happened to Loftus-Cheek,
right.
All this kind of stuff, and you can, of course, absolutely as well. But you can also look at it and say what a player he is, and that any team would be mad not to make space in their team for him on a regular basis, and that he should back his ability as well to play at the very, very highest level in club football as well as internationally. So, and if, as I say, if Chelsea don't want him, I'm sure he'll have opportunities that people throwing some real money about, and but we live in hope there. But look, I think we'll have to end it there. We've hit the hour mark, and that's more than enough, especially as we didn't have any kind of show preparation or plan this week. So we're amazing.
Yes,
but we best stop there. So thank you to everybody who got in touch. Clearly, we didn't write anything down, but we did read everything. So I made Nick read everything. That's essentially what happened there. I was going to thank somebody for producing, but at the moment it's me. I don't know who is going to produce. I'm the one who recorded it. So thank you to me. Thank you to Nick and Patrick for joining me. Of course, you listening at home. And I think we'll have a preview some point in the week.
We won't. It's international. We've got a week off.
No,
we've got some well-deserved time off.
Which is good. Terence has got a baby, innit?
Yeah, I need to go out and do some work somewhere else because we've got so much Billy matches coming up. I don't know how we're going to afford it. It's costing a fortune.
Well, tell me that it's been a few years since I did what you did and go
every game
home and away and everything. But you need a lot of time and a lot of money and a really strong liver. Anyway, yes. I was saying bye to everybody. So thank you very much. We'll be back very, very soon. And just bask in the glory of another wonderful victory. And screw it, our name's on the cup and we're going to Europe.
Hey.
Bye.